Hi, my name is Dr. Nishant Yagnick. I'm a neurosurgeon, a writer, and philosopher. And today I want to tell you about how I discovered the bridge between science and faith. To tell you about how I discovered this bridge, I have to take you a little bit through my personal journey in science and in faith. In my early years, in my childhood, I was a very devout believer in God. I am from a Hindu and Sikh family, and I used to go to temples and gurudwaras. I studied a lot of religious textbooks. I prayed a lot, and I was the ideal religious kid. And I even studied other religions. I studied religions I wasn't part of, and I tried to understand how they describe God. It was after I read about the Mughal Emperor Akbar and his creation of his own religion from his own conclusions called Deen-e-Ilahi that I thought that maybe I should, for my personal faith, take elements from different faiths and create, my own belief system that will satisfy my curious mind. A little bit after that, as I questioned, I started questioning the very basis of God itself. By the time I was 13, I turned atheist. By the time I was 14, I was a confirmed and confessed atheist. And by the time I was 15, I was such a staunch atheist that I stopped entering temples and gurudwaras. And I have to thank my parents for being so understanding during that time. They're still understanding. I'm still atheist. But, that was a transformation that happened simply by the act of questioning and reading. In fact, the funny part was when I used to tell people this, they used to ask me, what happened? What traumatic incident happened in my life that I left my faith from God? And I just used to tell them, I kind of figured it out. But that's another story for another time. So by the time I came to my 20s, I had so many discussions with so many people of different religious faiths that I kind of got bored of the question. It was always the same questions, the same answers, and no real conclusion, that I gave up on the topic completely. But I also gave up on being so staunch that, like a revolutionary, I wouldn't be part of the culture of my country. So slowly but surely, I started enjoying going to temples. I started enjoying going to mosques and started enjoying going to churches and gurudwaras. I enjoyed doing seva. And today, I really enjoy Holi and Diwali and Eid and Gurpurab and Christmas because it's part of this beautiful, diverse culture that I am part of. And, I love it. It's fun. But I am logically and conclusively still a non-believer in a God that is responsible for our creation or our future. The next real transformation came when I started my neurosurgical career. See, before that, I hadn't really seen the dark side of life, even in my general surgical training. But when I came to neurosurgery, I saw every day people whose lives had been completely disrupted by very, very dangerous diseases. When the brain itself loses the focus and the centers that it's supposed to have anatomically, the nature of the mind completely changes in the patient, and the families that are there to suffer along with that patient, they provide you a sense of otherworldliness, of the unknown, of the things that can completely disrupt whatever plans you think you have in your life. But the real change came when I had my twins. I had my kids after 4 years of IVF, not knowing whether we'd have kids at all, filing for adoption before our final attempt at IVF was successful. And when my kids were born, when my twins were born, I just experienced this deep sense of gratitude. Like I'd won the biggest lottery in the world. I still feel that way. It's been 3.5 years. I look at them and I call it the warm, fuzzy feeling. I have no other way of describing it. Something in my chest just feels good and warm and nice. And at the same time, I am also filled with fear that something's going to happen to them, that I'm going to lose all of this, that this is just a dream. Because every day I spend with them is the happiest day of my life till then. I have to go to the hospital, and daily I have to maybe see a child who's fallen from the 4th floor, a young guy who's been hit by a car, the only earner of a family who has had a brain aneurysm, a person who is the rock of someone's family who has now been diagnosed with a brain tumor that I have to operate. And you come home with this deep fear that it will happen to you. Just a few weeks ago, I treated a child, a 7-year-old child who had aspirated, who had a chess piece stuck in the child's throat. The child didn't make it. A chess piece. And I came home that day and my son was playing with, maybe, I think it was a small eraser, and I took it out of his hand. So at the same time, I feel deep gratitude. I don't even know to whom I'm thankful for the beautiful gift of my children. I am also extremely fearful because of my daily life and what I see, that something will take all of it away. Because I see everyday families from whom something has been taken away. And last year, this came to a head. I lost a very dear friend in the prime of his youth from a heart attack that was treated and then led to a brain hemorrhage. And I was the one who declared him. I was the one essentially who told the family that he is no more, that his brain is no more. And it was a very, very hard thing to do for me. And all of us, my family and him and another friend of ours, were supposed to go in last December, to Tamil Nadu for a temple tour. Now without him, we decided to do it anyways because he would have loved to be there and we wanted to fulfill that journey. So we landed in Trichy to see the great temple, the big temple. Oh, that's beautiful. You should see it to believe it. But when we were in Trichy, the night we reached, my son started to have difficulty breathing right in the middle of the night. And he had stridorous breathing. Stridorous means that it seemed like his larynx, his windpipe was closing when he was trying to breathe. So we rushed him to the largest hospital there, and with a little bit of nebulization and a few medicines, he improved. He became normal after giving us a huge scare. And satisfied that he is fine, with all my fears of every day suddenly, coming in front of me having to face them in that 1.5 hours in which this episode lasted, I was sitting in Trichy while I was, finishing the finances off, and there was a large photograph of the Lord Vishnu as Venkateshwara looking down upon me and smiling, and it was beautifully painted. There was radiance behind this photograph, and I felt this deep sense that God is telling me that I don't know anything, that these are just games, that me having my children, not knowing that they would come, or someone losing their children, or us making plans and them being successful or disrupted is so dependent on so many factors that we are completely we suffer completely from a lack of control over our lives, that this is just a game, and that everything I believe that I control is just a joke. That is a deeply religious and spiritual experience. And even now, logically, I conclude that there is no God, that this is just my mind or my brain reacting to what I've experienced, because it doesn't make any logical sense, and my brain still experiences it. That is the bridge between science and faith. Everyone has described this experience from the religious point of view. I've read so many philosophers, for everyone from Alan Watts to Deepak Chopra, have described this deep sense of the religious experience. And yet, from a logical point of view, it just seems like this is the way our brain functions and creates these experiences for us. Because there is so much that is unknown to us, that is so scary. We are an infinitesimally small part of this universe. That is agreed upon by every scientist. Our own control over our lives, over our local environment, which seems so strong at one point of time, I see it broken every day in the hospital. So much is unknown to us that our brain wants us to have some sort of guardian angel, some father figure, some mother figure to tell us that, you're going to be okay, that tomorrow is going to be okay, that living is justified, that tomorrow is justified, that your actions are justified, that you are loved, that there is something beyond this life. All of these thoughts are how our brain manages to give us the courage to go on. The religious process, the process of faith, is inherent to the science of our mind. So this is where it all comes together. Neuroscience is a logical and scientific understanding of how the brain works and how the brain creates the mind. And the religious experience, the deep spiritual experience, is a scientific process by which our minds tell us how to live our lives or give us the faith or the courage to go on. Religion and faith is a scientific process. Is everything we believe true? No. Is there logic to everything that we believe? No. Is the process of creating those beliefs that don't have any logical explanation but help us anyways, is it a scientific process? Yes. Our mind is doing this on a regular basis. It's doing this naturally. It's doing this beautifully. So if there is any controversy whether faith and religion and science can mix, this is the bridge where they do. When scientists start respecting that religion and faith happens because of a scientific process in our brain, and when people of faith believe that not everything they believe might be true, but the fact that that belief is there is through a neuroscientific process, that is where things get together and people can respect each other. And I am in the center of both. The emotional battle is the greatest battle of our lives, and in this battle, perspective is power.